Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you, and most definitely to you. This is your man Dre Mac with another episode of the Dre Mac Show. 6:30 in the morning. You already know what it is. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Even me, I gotta wake up right now because I am tired. I am sleepy, and you know what? I can't start the show with Mortal Kombat ain't playing in the background. Ugh. And just a reminder for next week, I am going to be moving next weekend. So that following, like next week, is going to be the last week I'm going to be doing the live shows in the morning. I'm gonna have to take some time so I can move, get my internet going, get everything set up or whatever at the new place. So next week I would not be doing the Dre Max show. So you won't see me next week. Um, it's for everybody who's coming in on because I'm live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on did I say Twitter? Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So if you guys are coming in, let's talk about it in the chat. Today I'm talking about episode number 3, season 2 of Bel-Air. I'm going to get into it and all of that. Hopefully you guys are happy, you guys are healthy, everything is working out for you guys, and you are having a productive and great day. But the real question is, are you ready? All right. Today I'm gonna be honest with you. I am whoa. I'm talking about whoa. WOE. I'm whoa out. I'm tired. I am tired. I've been dealing with trying to get this place and move and all of this stuff together. Like I said, next week, and I'm gonna put an announcement. If you follow me on the YouTube channel, I'll put an announcement on. Actually, I'm gonna do it on IG also. That there is going to be no Dre Max show next week. Basically, this is a vacation, so I can move, get everything set up or whatever, and then I'm going to be following up everything on the following week. Hopefully not. And man, if something really like, if it's cracking, oh, most definitely I'm going on. I'll just make videos. I'll make a little short video on my phone. You know what I mean? And get to it and everything. You know what I mean? But make sure if you're coming in, hit the thumbs up button, man. Make sure that you like the video. Like the video. Just give me a thumbs up. This pushes through the algorithm. I don't care if I got 4 likes or 400 likes. At least it shows YouTube that I'm actually doing a good job. So, episode 3 of Bel-Air. This was okay. So, this to kind of give you a little review. This was the protest episode. This particular episode dealt with the aftermath of Mrs. Hughes being fired, who was played by Tatiana Ali, who was the original Ashley Banks in the show. Will and Carlton is part of like this Black Student Union. It's going to stage this protest, this walkout, and everything, and that's kind of where it picks up. Uncle Phil does talk to Will from last week's episode, just talking to him about the AAU recruiter that's trying to get him to play for this team. I'm gonna get to it. And Will giving his feedback as far as what he believes he should do. Then you also have a scene where Jeffrey is trying to look up some files in Phil's computer, which gives me the vibes that yeah, he's happy being back, but there's something else going on. We pick up with Hillary. Hillary is trying to get a brand deal for the whole entire house with a rival company than what I believe her name is Ivy, I believe. Than what she's doing. She's really about herself, and Hillary is trying to make sure that the whole entire house is getting paid. So it was a lot in this episode. Again, with Ashley. Ashley is just trying. She wants to be a part of the walkout, the protest, but she can't because they threaten all the students. And that's just an overview on this episode. It's just a slight review. Let me give you my thoughts. And again, this is a spoiler warning for episode 3, season 2 of Bel-Air. So spoiler warning for everyone. My reaction to this, I'm not gonna lie, this episode was boring. And not because I think there was, I don't know, there was no stakes in this episode. I need to charge my phone. Sorry, y'all. There was no stakes in this episode. Like I don't know how to call it. You know what I mean? First, we're supposed to be dealing with the aftermath of the teacher being fired, Mrs. Hughes, and basically what is going on is that she was giving Ashley black, authors books to read, Ta-Nehisi Coates and a few others or whatever, and a little young white girl was watching this and didn't like it. So it looked like she went and told mom and dad. Mom and dad went to go talk to, the heads of the school or whatever, and then had Miss Hughes removed because she was not teaching what's required of the curriculum, which is a real world problem right now when you start talking about critical race theory and how people are trying to ban certain things that's part of American history. Slavery is a part of American history. What happened with black people is a part of American history. And this particular episode tries to dive in it, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. I know Carlton was dealing with his anxiety, really, really bad. Like he's getting up for it, but his anxiety took over because he was supposed to give the speech. He was supposed to get up and be the leader and all of that, and he couldn't. He could not do it because of his anxiety. It is more and more evident that he really needs that anxiety medicine, and he might need a bigger dose of that anxiety medicine. But it's I understand there was a dialogue between Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv that was talking about the importance of the teacher and in the importance of teaching, the curriculum, but then going the extra mile. And then Uncle Phil was like, well, maybe there's a compromise, maybe there's something, because she did, go across the lines. Now, I think this is the problem that I had with this episode is that in the original, and I'm not sure because I know that these are two totally different. This is like a multiverse. This is a totally different universe where these people are serious. But one thing that I did like in the original series, the original First Prince of Bel-Air, was Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv were really pro-black. And even though Uncle Phil was a judge, he was still black first. He made it be known all the things that he's seen, and even as a position as a judge, he was still very much pro-black and will speak on black issues. And I didn't see that in this episode. I didn't see this version of Uncle Phil really take a stand, and I think I was waiting for the strong black male to rise up that was not Will Smith in this show. That was not Will. And I think it was a little forced. I didn't feel it. Now, I will tell you this. Critical race theory is something that needs to, the critical race theory, CRT, this is something that needs to be debated, and we need to make a stand on that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I got a couple books that's behind me, right? Now, this particular book is one book that would never, ever, ever be taught in any high school in America. This book is called The Black Image in the White Mind by George Ferguson. This book is the debate on African American character and destiny. The main thing about this book is that this has excerpts from abolitionists and colonialists. They literally tell you what they thought about black people in the 1800s and the three fifths rule and all that stuff, all in here. You know what I mean? They tell you way more stuff that actually would scare white people, because what white people don't, what I need white people to understand is that this history, that's right now, you should look at your ancestors and be ashamed of what they did to black people and not gloss over it and tell us to get over it, because every year we talk about September 11th and we talk about all these other atrocities in America, and we, are told not to get over it. We get banners, we get pins, hell, we still celebrate the 4th of July. Yet my people were still enslaved in the 4th of July, during, 1776. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wasn't free. They don't tell you about the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed January the 1st, 1865. That we should really be celebrating our freedom on New Year's, but no, they will push and erase that portion of history so you could go ahead and spend your dollars bringing in the new year, not knowing that your people were announced to be free on that day. Now, the thing about this episode, the reason why I'm putting this up is that those should be the arguments about why this type of information is important, and they didn't really bring it home. They didn't bring up James Baldwin. They didn't bring up a lot of these other prolific authors that were black. They didn't bring up any of this to be able to be like, this is why we need this information, because besides us being downplayed and having our history basically pushed to the side like we were part of indigenous servitude, we need to teach the real history and why this was detrimental to us and why a lot of the cycles that we go through continue to happen. I don't care if somebody feels ashamed. You should feel ashamed. And once you feel shame, you want to change. And within that change, you start to become a better person. And maybe, just maybe, we could be a better country if we step up to the plate. Understand that we can't erase this. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, you cannot erase this, or it is bound to repeat itself. And that is the point that need to be drove home. If it wasn't Will and it was someone else, I would have felt the episode, but I didn't. If this is somebody who this is, like I said, I don't have these books for nothing. Trust me. I don't have any of this stuff for nothing. But if I was to pull up something and so people could really understand, like, the thoughts and minds and why those thoughts and minds and ideologies needed to be changed. You know what I mean? And about white supremacy and what white supremacy ideology means. What real racism is. You know what I'm saying? Racism is not them calling you nigger. You know what I'm saying? Even if Chris Rock is joking about it, that's not racism. It's bigotry. Racism is the fact that they can literally, put us into a confined box. You know what I mean? And basically, we're not getting the funding that's in our schools. We're not getting the things that we need for our education, for our kids. Our property tax is higher, but yet those dollars do not go back into the school system. That's racism. While these other places get the privilege of having great jobs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And their schools get all the funding that they need so they can be able to thrive. But you wonder why the inner city is where it is. You know what I'm saying? Why politicians are not stepping up to the plate. They're happy to get your vote, but they're not going to do anything to make any real changes. While voting locally is very, very, very important. Because the same people you keep bringing into office, and you turn around and you see nothing being done, you have to think, why do I keep voting for these people? Why do I keep putting people in the board of education and people that deals with my children or my community's future in the hands of people who don't want to do anything? They will love to take your money but not do anything to be able to benefit and to be able to come up and then use your voice and your presence and your time to make change. That is what we need to be teaching. That is what should have been the passion of that should have been in this episode. And that is what was lacking in this episode. And then you undercut the tension of, and I wish the focus was mainly on what is the curriculum? What are they teaching? Why are they teaching that? Why did that get approved? Why are we not talking about the other things? Why is extra credit learning about something that may be outside of your comfort zone, but can actually teach you something so you can get the mind of another person? Why is that not being driven home in this episode? So technically for me, I can't feel that. It became boring, and then and what I was saying is you undercut this episode with things that's going on with Hillary because she's trying to run this house, and she's trying to get a sponsorship, and the girl won't pay attention to her. The girl playing you, Hillary, do your own thing. Stop listening to this girl and go ahead. And I know you're a partnership, but obviously she's not taking a partnership. So do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And I did not that whole thing about bringing up these particular issues was undercut with that. And the whole entire episode should have been focused on why learning your history is important, not only for Black people, but for white people, for Asian people, for Africans that sit here, for Middle Easterns that are here. These are the things that we need to know, so we're not so divided. I'm not saying we're just sitting here like, woe is me, look at me in my victimization, look at me and feel sorry for me. No, look at me and say, this is what happened to our ancestors, and maybe this is the reason why we're still in a perpetual state of asking for things and not being proactive, but being reactive. Every time we go out and we march and we preach and we march and we go get all these big leaders and stuff like that, because we are reactive and not proactive. If we understood our history, proactiveness will overtake anything that's reactive. Because if we're already proactive, we ain't got to worry about asking for anything. We ain't got to worry about wondering if the government is going to do something for us. What is our politicians doing? What is the police doing? Because we're proactive in our community. That is what's need to be taught. And then we can be able to go somewhere and be something better. That's just my opinion. You can, put in the comment section how you feel, but that's what the episode should have been dedicated to. And Mika G, and shout out to Mika G too. She said in Carlton's anxiety, and for someone who suffers from anxiety, and I know how it feels to get in front of a camera. Like, honestly, I haven't took my goalie. Today it kind of calms down my mood, the blue ones, and my heart is completely racing. So I understand exactly where Carlton was coming from. But for once, I'm gonna be honest with you. And again, I believe the original show did it better. Not taking anything away from what happened with Carlton, because I understand when anxiety kicks and you go into that mode, and I know they lowered his dosage, that it could be a lot of overwhelming things. But I once wanted to see him push through just this once. I wanted this was an episode that he could have pushed through, and then he could have had his anxiety attack after he got up, said his speech, said what he had to do, felt was on his heart, then looked at that teacher when she was looking at him in disgust, because that's what she was going to look at him as, because Will took the banner and put it up. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having that be in Will's moment, I wanted that to be Carlton's moment. So then when she looks at him, and he knew he did the right thing, but his anxiety is always going to tell him, no, you didn't. That would have been impactful. It would have progressed his story. It would have made Carlton, you can see it's in him, but his anxiety causes him to sometimes not be able to bring it out. But that would have been an overcoming moment. So when he does have that anxiety attack, they can be able to go back and say, look, you was able to do this. Never forget who you are inside of you, and never let the anxiety overtake you, so much that you can't be what you are made to be. Mika said it would have been very powerful. It was Carlton getting over his anxiety and up in that up on that building. Yes, having the anxiety attack afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Having the anxiety attack afterwards, but allowing that situation to propel him to be able to overcome certain parts of his anxiety when he needs to. It's almost like we call it the hero's moment. When the hero is at his lowest point and he pushes through despite his weaknesses, despite what's going on, despite everything, he pushes through and prevails, and then even falls back to a weakened state. I would have loved to see that. And what I mean by that, if anybody remembers Spider-Man: Homecoming, because they reacted of this scene where Spider-Man had a building fall on him, and he kept telling himself, what I'm saying, you're Spider-Man, you were this, you were strong, giving himself affirmations from a person who deals with anxiety. Constantly, I have to tell myself, you are great, you are special, you are worthy, you are worth it. You constantly got to tell yourself, hey, today, Dre, let's get up, let's do this, let's make sure it happens. You got this. Don't let them take anything from you, because you deserve everything. Everything that you have been blessed with, everything they denied, you're going to take that back today. And we're going to make sure that happens. So if they try to deny you, you make your stand that day. Those are the things I constantly have to tell myself. You know what I'm saying? So I can make it through the day. And it would have been nice for those type of things to come into fruition for him. You can do this. You can make it. You can overcome this. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for your people. Let that overpower you. Mind over matter. And sometimes those affirmations can be so powerful. So when you get to that stage, you've already basically, it's like you hyped yourself up. You hyped yourself up. You go and you do your thing. And then if you break down after that, baby, I understand. But you show that you can do it. That would have been powerful. And then in later episodes, if he goes back to the rabbit hole of snorting his medicine and all of that, then we can be able to look back when he does fall into that and see a way that, hey, you have this, but you overcame it in this instance. You can still overcome it. And that could be a driving force for him to be able to get better. So that's why this was a little lackluster to me. You know what I mean? It was. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to take of this, but just I'm gonna give you an excerpt from this book, from chapter 3. It's Science, Polygenesis, and Pro-Slavery Argument. Now, this book actually, again, talks about the arguments for and against having slaves. Who were they? They didn't even know who we were. And I'm going to read one. I'm going to read a little bit of this so you can kind of get an understanding. This is real documentation. This is actual clinical information. Just basically, they took what whites were writing and put it in this book from that time period. So let me just read something real quick. And the reason why knowing this information, understanding this information, being taught this information will help us grow as a society. So during the 1840s and the 1850s, the conclusion of sciences on the nature and extent of racial diversity came for the first time to play an important role in the discussion of Black servitude. In educated circles in the South as well as in the North, so don't never let them tell you that just because they were free in the North didn't make them any less racist. You know what I mean? And white superiority, white supremacy was very much still alive, no matter what the Emancipation Proclamation did. But it said in the educated circles in the South as well as the North, they're developed, especially among those who wish to expose the errors of their opponents, a growing belief that Jefferson had been right and anticipating that science would eventually decide once and for all whether Negroes were biologically equal to whites or were ever likely to be. So when you start seeing, you know, when you start hearing that they were going to use science to prove that blacks were not equal to whites, this is why science, I always have an argument to certain scientific theories, because what is that theory based out of? What does that theory do? And again, people, this is what this episode could have taught, and why that information is so important. Because you could be able to understand, yes, white people thought that they were very much superior to blacks, and they were going to use science to prove it. So I'm gonna read you one last. Oh, okay. Let me just read this. Um, at the time when Garrison first challenged American racial assumptions and forced Southerners and Northerners, anti-abolitionists, to examine and articulate their preconceptions, American ethnological uh, ethnological thinking was in a state of flux. The dominant authority in the field was still Samuel Stanhope Smith, who had been dead for more than a decade, but whose essay on causes of the variety of complexion and figure in human species, published in 1787 and republished in an enlarged edition in 1810, still commanded respect. Smith, a Presbyterian minister, I'm trying to tell you, there were some deep things that we need to discuss and that whites and blacks need to understand. Dude, they were using science and using the word of the Lord to tell you you were less than. Why you think they make you? Why you think in certain churches they wear white gloves when they're doing communion, or they have the ushers come around with white gloves? Because during slavery, they thought your filthy Negro hands was not good enough to touch the altar of the Lord, and that their God looked like them. Because that's why you have a white Jesus. Oh, let me not go there. Let me shut up, Dre. Shut up. Shut up, Dre. Shut up. 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 Okay. I want to read you. About to get in trouble. And this is. I am sorry. A leopard never changes its spots. So I can't talk about all of this because But I'm just going to say this. I'm going to let the words. It's not my words. I'm going to let the words speak for itself. All right. So there was a point in time where they didn't know who black people were, and again, that's why this is so important. And wonder why sometimes you get some pushback when it comes to this. So let me see. So it was like the new document, however, did not become accepted in the view, even in scientific and intellectual circles, until 1840s and the 1850s, when the American School of Ethnology, godly, emerged and affirmed on the basis of a new data that the races of mankind had been separately created as distinct and unequal species. The full scientific assault on environmentalism came at a time, therefore, when it was bound to have some influence on discussions of slavery and Negro prospects. The originator of this new scientific ethnology was Dr. Samuel George Morton of Philadelphia, who published a book in 1839 that promised to bring an end to loose speculations about racial origins and differences by opening up an era of hard-headed imperialism. Morton's Crania Americana was a result of years of collecting and examining human skulls. As he gathered and studied the crania of different types of men, Morton became aware of the differences between white, Indian, and Negro skulls, and of the fact that the ancient crania from any given race did not seem to differ from those of their modern descendants. Morton concluded that the races had always had the same physical characteristics and by implications, the same mental qualities. If you follow me on this. In the 1840s, Morton collaborated with George R. Glendon, an Egyptologist who provided him with mummy heads and information that the racial significance of Egyptian tomb inscriptions in Crania Egyptiaca published in 1844, Morton pointed out that both cranial and archaeological evidence showed that the Egyptians were not Negroes, as abolitionists and colonialists had maintained that, in fact, that blacks had been regulated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in modern America. This is not from me. This is from the book, and this is from 1844 study of who you are. They thought you guys were Egyptian, which technically I am. I have 8% Egyptian, 8% Egyptian ancestry. But they thought they come to find out that you were serving the same servitude in ancient Egypt that you were in America. And all I'm saying is, who served servitude in Egypt? Because the show wasn't the Egyptians. That's all I'm going to say about that. But again, if you start teaching people the truth, we wouldn't have these problems. But when you hold the truth and you hide the truth, and then you expose people for the truth, and then you try to shame people for the truth and go on public tours for the truth, that's the reason why we got these problems right now. That's the reason why they don't want you to read a book like this. You understand? For Babylon and Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor, because they don't want you to know your history or who you are. They want you in a state of influx, and they want this thing to be separated. If we came together and we learned each other and we understood each other and we actually came together, they cannot keep us divided any longer. And maybe, just maybe, that verse in the Bible where it said, "Love thy neighbor like you love yourself," might come into fruition. But the more and more as they keep us divided, the more and more we're going to be in a state of influx. That's what should have been taught on the episode. That's the power that you have with writing. And to me, this episode lacked that power because they were afraid to go forward. They were afraid to go hard. If you're going to do it, if you're going to talk about it, I don't want to, it's cool to say black teachers matter. Black teachers matter. Yeah, that's all good. But what about what she's teaching? How powerful is that? That's what needs to be taught. All right. This is your man, Dre Mack. Like I said, I ain't gonna lie, when you start talking that stuff, everybody ain't gonna show. I swear to God, let me shut up.
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up. Wrap that shit up, B.
All right, let me go ahead and wrap it up. I got things, I got alarm clocks going off and everything, but hopefully, you liked the episode. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. If you didn't like the episode, put it in the comment section. If you like what I said, if you didn't like what I said, just put it in the comment section. Again, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Don't make sure to hit the bell notifications so you never miss one of my episodes. Hopefully, again, you understand why I read that and why that would have been impactful for the episode. Why Carlton should have been the one to take that spotlight and not Will. And why this episode was kind of lackluster. Again, I thank you guys for stopping in with me and chatting with me. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace and vibe higher. If you came to this portion of the video, thank you so very much for sticking around for the entirety of the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you never miss one of my videos. And if you want to get a little more personal with me, hit me up on my Instagram, hit me up on Twitter, or any of the social medias that you see below you. Until next time, I'll holler at you guys later. Peace and vibe higher.